It's a special episode of Daryl Talks to Bands. It's the Strombo Show with the one and only George Strombolopoulos. How are you, man?
I'm great, buddy. How are you?
I'm excellent. You're on the West Coast now?
I am. I'm in California at the moment. I've been down here for a big part of the lockdowns, doing a show for Apple Music. But yeah, I'm down here for now. I pop back and forth to Toronto when I can.
You've been going there in the winters for a long time now, have you?
Yeah. Well, weirdly, I was coming down here in the summers for a long time, but I've been bouncing between LA and Toronto meaningfully for about 16 years. Although I first came here in the 80s when I was a teenager and decided I was going to set up shop here as well. So Toronto, LA, and New York have become the places that I wanted to spend a meaningful part of my adult life in. And then as I look towards the future, which I'm thinking more England and Berlin.
Really?
But Toronto will always be home to me.
But despite all that, you still haven't gone Hollywood.
No, you can't. I mean, if you're from Rexdale or Malton, if you're from the neighborhoods that I'm from, it's not really in you to go Hollywood.
Hey, I grew up in Scarborough, so I know exactly.
So you know it.
Yeah,
in fact, Toronto is such a bizarre city, as you know. But if you're from like neighborhoods like where we're from, it's even more bizarre. And so, yeah, I actually think places like Hollywood are built for people from where we're from, because we get the good out of it, but we don't fall for a lot of the traps.
Inject a little realness into it.
You know it.
There you go. So there's so many questions that I could ask you, but I want to ask you stuff about music and some of the people that you've interviewed, of course. Growing up, do you remember what your first like musical love was?
Yeah, my first musical love was Black Sabbath. I remember, it's funny because when I was a kid, I don't even know where this comes from. I know there's this conversation about nature, nurture, and how we sort of settled on that. It's a little bit of both. But for whatever reason, when I was a kid, I was attracted to really dark things. I didn't really watch a lot of kids shows when I was young. I watched The Muppet Show and I watched Hilarious House of Frightenstein.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, but Frightenstein was really, really, really impactful on me. Bizarre,
yeah.
Like really impactful.
It's like, that's out of Hamilton. How'd they get Vincent Price? Like, what's happening here? Yeah.
Totally. And, my mother said she felt like the lights went out of my eyes when I would watch it. And she couldn't understand how this sweet little kid, I was a sweet little kid, was so into this creepy, crawly, dark stuff. So it makes me think that either in a past life or lives or buried into my DNA I was just born to be metal. And and I was just very lucky too, I don't know how old you are now, bro, but I'm 49, right? And when I was at they say when you're 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, you're starting to make your crucial art choices that become important for the rest of your life. That's when I started watching the Montreal Canadiens. That's when metal in this post-Sabbath world where metal was becoming, metal, Maiden was floating around. Punk rock started with the Clash and the Pistols and the Ramones and Patty. Rap music was starting. Hip hop was starting.
I was big on me being from Scarborough. Hip hop was prominent.
Totally. And it was all happening when I was a kid. And so it all really impacted me. But deep down in my wiring was always whatever was the most hardcore gangster version of it is the one that I was going to connect to. And I didn't make those choices. So Alice Cooper and Maiden and the Clash and the Pistols, really the Pistols. I was really caught up in the mythology of Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious and how Johnny's voice wasn't trying to be like plus, in my neighborhoods, disco was everywhere, right?
Okay.
And it was all like fucking fancy and fucking going to clubs, and it was like money. And disco was money, right? And we were like, fuck, that ain't our life. So that fucking gritty punk rock and metal was more like our life, Sure. Now, as I got older, I'm like, fuck, some disco's amazing. But it wasn't part of my thinking.
That's you just hit on something that's interesting there is that, going from punk and metal and then, but there is some disco that is amazing. You've always been a guy who seems to love music across the board. Genre. Yeah. And so someone that I was fortunate to work with was a good friend of yours, Martin Streek. And something that Martin instilled lessons in me when I worked with him, because I got to do a bit of the stuff in the clubs as well. And one of the things that always stuck with me was how he hated Metallica with a passion. Like he called them Metallica. He once told me that he was proud that he never played them on the Edge.
He never did. I tried to get him to play it. Yeah, I like all genres that aren't pop. So I don't like pop country. I don't like pop music for the most part. I don't like pop hip hop. I don't like even poppier metal. I don't like
Ghost.
you know, Ghost I can get behind because they're so insane, the presentation. I love it.
I saw them in Vegas, which was appropriate, I think, because it's like a Vegas show.
That is true.
Yeah.
So I was really connected to, as much as I love all music, what I really connect to is authenticity, and what I connect to is a rawness. So if something feels true, I will like it regardless of the genre. And that is actually where Martin, in the Venn diagram of what I liked and what Martin liked, where we overlapped, was the things that felt true, because Martin liked a lot of the retro-y kind of poppy dance stuff that I didn't like.
He did, yeah.
When I was a kid.
The spirit of the edge.
Yeah, but of course I loved it. I loved it as I got older. But for me, if it was authentic and true, I was really into it.
I came around to a lot of that new wave stuff well after the fact because of Sunday Nights on the Edge as well.
Yeah.
And and later in life discovered a real love for some of that music. So
some of it's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Some of it's incredible. I love Cold War era pop music. You know, like 99 Luftballons, like that's some heavy duty shit. Small Town Boy, by Bronski Beat. Like these are unbelievable songs. Like that Bronski Beat track is as good as it gets. That early Tears for Fear, actually most of the Tears for Fear stuff, amazing stuff.
Yeah, totally. I remember seeing Tears for Fears actually in Rema, and Steve Anthony was sitting in front of us, and John Scholes was just like a couple seats over as well. So it's like, wow. Oh, hey, look, the gang's all here. Yeah,
Big John Scholes.
Yeah.
When I was in junior high, I used to run home from school at 3:00 just so I could turn on Q107, because Steve Anthony was on the radio and he had a show. He was called Steve Agony. He would call himself the Steve Agony Show. And part of the charm of the Steve Agony Show is he always felt like he was crashing the plane, not landing the plane. And I think he that was his bit. It was really, really impactful. And he wasn't on cue for very long, but it really, really hit me. Like it was a really powerful influence on me in radio.
Okay, I was going to say, I knew he had a stint at CFNY, but I didn't realize that he was also on Q at one point.
Yeah, Steve Agony, yep.
Yeah, which is interesting because there's a group of people like yourself and Steve who have been on the television side and on the radio side. Recently, I saw you post a picture with Rick Campanelli, who's doing Mornings with Sandra now, who's also a CFNY alumni. And a lot of people were touched by that post and by what you said, because you're like, when I walked in, Rick was the king. And you both seem to come from that school of be great, be humble.
Be great, be humble, and be there for your colleagues, right? Support. Rick has always been that way. He has been really interesting, really supportive. I believed in it. Also, there's something profoundly wrong with your wiring if you walk into Much Music and don't recognize that Rick's where it's at. Rick's Rick. He's the franchise. And I remember how Master T was always very, very cool to Rick. Everybody was cool to Rick because he was so nice. But yeah, I was amazed actually how much people were touched by that post about Campanelli. I think also seeing him and I, because he was the good boy and I was the bad boy, and the two of us,
the Beatles and the Stones,
Yeah, we totally. Yeah. We were a big part of a certain generation, certain eras of growing up. So, and I mean it greatly. I meant every word I said. Like I walked in there, and Rick could have made that a difficult experience for me, but there was no part of him that would have done that.
Yeah. Which is awesome. That's great. It's great to hear stories, because there are, as you come across some weird egos in the business. And
bro, this business is a nightmare, man. It's a fucking nightmare. It can be. It certainly can be. And that's the thing. I would never, like in my entire career, I would never in a million years try to make somebody's path more difficult than it should have been. Like never, because it's hard enough. It is hard enough to figure out how to get a whole bunch of strangers to connect to you. It's hard enough.
And and putting yourself out there, like you kind of you're in a vulnerable position putting yourself out there every day. Like
Now, luckily for me, Daryl, that was never my concern because I had this I don't have an ego about this business, but what I do have is a swagger in that I just don't care. Like I want to do a good job, but I never felt vulnerable or exposed because I knew that, and I think it comes back from what you were talking about earlier, the people that I would have listened to when I was younger, the craft of radio is really important to me. And the craft of television is very important to me. So I always think about the Michael Jordan story, that Michael Jordan was the best player in the world, but he didn't take the next step, even in his own mind, until he won the Defensive Player of the Year award. Like that was really impactful. So to me, on the radio, the Defensive Player of the Year award equivalent was, can you do it? What's the craft like? What are the basics? You know, I was obviously very casual and wild on the air and kind of like seemed like I wasn't paying attention, but my formatics were tight because I put a lot of work into then I was able to do this fucking spin around shit. But it wasn't until I got my formatics right and strong. And so I just always felt like if you do that right, then it doesn't matter what you try to do on the air because you can always land on the basics and that will always save you. And so I never felt exposed. I never felt vulnerable. I'm also very confident in sharing, you know, this experience because what's the point of being on the radio or in television if you can't be there to help somebody else see that they're going to be okay? What's the point?
And people are interested in the stories that go along with what they don't see.
Yes, and even though you tell those stories, it's not really about you, it's about experiences.
Right.
And if you make it just about like for me, I've never made it just about my feelings. It was never about my feelings. It was about, check this out. A lot of my career was based on what I was excited to share with you. Because if you could get half out of this as I got out of this song, then wow, how cool would that be?
I even loved it. Sometimes on, you know, playing a song on radio that it's not a new song, but maybe it's an old song that somebody didn't know. And they're like, oh man, I've never heard that before. That's like, there is a certain, you know, satisfaction or I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but there's a good feeling that goes along with that.
It's like what Marty and I used to talk about all the time, Martin. It's that if we are lucky enough and privileged enough to be in a position where we can go on the air and share new music, then it is our responsibility to do this. So it is, as Kim Mitchell called it, our rock and roll duty. And we absolutely believed in it. We absolutely believed in it. Bookie believed in it. Brother believed in it. We were, in a weird way, defenders of the faith, you know?
You bring up Bookie, and I remember reading a quote of yours years ago saying quality wins, and that's what you get with Streek and Bookman. And I couldn't agree more with, like, if you were having a bad day, just go say hi to Bookie and it turns around, you know, like that guy was magic. There's something about him.
Bro, when I was doing the Live in Toronto show on CFNY and Bookie was on every day at 6:10, he lived around. So we did the show from, at the time, there was as they're building the studio, there was a trailer in a parking lot, which was filled with all kinds of human heartbreak in this park, park, right? And it was real. It was real Toronto in that park. Bookie lived, you could almost see where he was just, but it was pre-PVR. Bookie wouldn't come down to do the show.
Young and the Restless.
Because he wanted to watch his shows. He would call it. He's like, I'm not coming down for 10 minutes. I got to watch Golden Girls or whatever the fuck he had to watch, wrestling or whatever, you know. He was, oh my God, I miss Bookie. What an absolute beauty.
Yeah, he was the keeper of the controller during his shift at 228 Yonge Street. Don't you dare touch that until he has made his way out. I also would love just driving down Yonge Street and looking over, and if they were playing a song, Bookie usually had the headphones on and was air guitaring and bouncing around and stuff like that.
100%. 100%. It was love. Like, it was the love of music. And I think this is what's really important to lean into, is that most of us at that radio station in that era, we loved radio, but we loved music. Like, we loved it. Music was our love of music was a big part of our identity, but not just publicly, but who we actually were. And so there was a time, like, you couldn't get a job on the radio station if you didn't know anything about fucking music, you know?
Right.
And if you didn't know anything about music, you were exposed mightily quickly, right? Mighty quickly. you had to know shit. It's one of the reasons why I wasn't particularly interested in going to Much Music when they first approached me, was I didn't really think it was about music. I thought it was about pop TV. And then when they offered me the new music, it's like, oh, now that show is definitely about music.
That and Punkorama, I mean, for a lot of people, myself included, growing up, were so influential. Those two shows in particular. I mean, what an amazing opportunity that is too. Like, because it was at the time something that didn't exist, right?
Didn't exist. In fact, when I got there, when they offered me the new music at Much, I was, I said I would go over only on the condition that they let me host Loud again and bring the metal community back. And then they said yes. And then in that, I told them I wanted to create a show called The Punk Show. And it came from that. So I had Live in Toronto and Punkorama on the Edge and Over the Edge, which was a metal show. And then I shifted, which is funny because my second job, but my first legal radio job, was in Kelowna. And one of the things I was doing was a metal show called, what was it called? High Voltage. Nice. And this is like in 1993. Which is crazy, actually. 1993, now that I think about it. So yeah, being able to be a part of like kids who liked heavy music, who felt like outcasts, who didn't feel like they were invited to the party.
Of course.
Like that it was a really beautiful opportunity to be a part of their lives.
When looking at broadcasting and music, was it a passion for being the host, or was it a passion for chasing music, do you think? Because I always looked at radio as a way to access the music industry. It's like, okay, I want to be able to ask these questions to artists that I admire. I want to be able to, have those interactions, and radio is an excellent way to accomplish that.
Yeah, that's totally true. I don't think that was it for me. I never really cared about the music industry, if I'm being honest with you.
Or maybe the industry isn't the right way to describe it, but to musicians.
Yeah, I guess I never thought it was an option. I never really thought about interviewing bands or being a part of it. It was never, I never really thought about it. I always just thought, like, my dream was to be on the radio at 2:00 in the morning, playing cool tunes and keeping people company and taking calls. I feel like I was lucky enough to grow up in the last of the, where the DJs were pretty risky. And I felt like Marty and I got away with that on the Edge. When we were starting to get on the radio, it was starting to go away. But Stu Myers, our boss, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, Stu let me and Martin get away with a lot. And I think it's because Marty and I both took it seriously. But I feel like I grew up in the last of the golden era of Toronto radio, where the DJs were fucking wild, before all the stations were bought by the same companies, right? I was growing up listening to radio before multiple ownership was allowed. So radio was very interesting in Toronto, and then it became very uninteresting.
It's true, yeah.
And so I just thought, oh, this seems like a really cool sandlot to play in, And I know that I could show and bring my kind of West Side low rent lifestyle to the party. I remember getting in shit on the radio in Humber College because heroin had made a resurgence in the community, and I was
grunge.
I was doing tutorials on the air to tell people how to bleach their needles, to be careful, because AIDS was starting to spread, and I thought it was really responsible to talk to people about
PSA style content. Yeah.
But unfortunately, I wasn't being PSA style. I was being a little more me. I was being a little rough around the edges, but it was still that reason.
Well, it's a punk rock PSA.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, I got in so much shit. I was telling people on the radio, I was coming up with really irreverent ways to get people to wear condoms on the air. Like, I thought that was my fucking job, right? Hey man, like, you got to protect your community, right? And so for whatever reason, I was able to get away with it. I got in shit a few times, but I was able to get away with it.
There was a clip that I heard of Martin on the air. I'm not sure if you were in the room. I'm sure you know about this, no doubt, where he was supposed to get into a Nine Inch Nails show or something, and something got screwed up with his plans, and he leans off mic and lets the biggest F-bomb go.
I was right there.
It's because it's a natural reaction. If you know him and his love for that band, that's a dagger to his heart.
I can tell you, I was there, and because what he did was, he would look, because Marty would wear that hat, right? He'd wear his ball cap and his headphones on, and Marty had a very, as cool and calm as Martin was, I always felt like Martin was always on the air. Martin's the greatest. He on the air. Martin was like a caged tiger, but a caged tiger that was kind of always on the verge of a not a meltdown because he was too controlled for that, but there was an explosion there all the time.
It could happen, yeah.
But
he's a volcano. He's a volcano.
He was a volcano, but his eruption was always a smirk because Martin was very controlled. And so I remember because he would look over with this glint in his eye, and I remember I would just do this. I would take my headphones off, and I would just sit back because here it comes, and Marty would just like fuck all the way back. It was so funny that happened a few times. The thing that like Marty and I used to scrap on the radio all the time, but there was a couple of times when I was taken off the show to fill in on another time slot. I think it was filling in the mornings, and Marty said to me, "I need you to come back because I'm throwing fastballs here, and I need somebody who can catch them." And Marty and I we were able to throw Marty and I could put each other in harm's way on the radio, knowing that we both knew how to dodge trains. And I think my greatest skill set in radio is I can be in harm's way and not get hurt. And Marty could be in harm's way and not get hurt. And so together, him and I were a fucking high wire act, right?
Yeah.
And it was, I got to be honest with you, it was like one of the great pleasures and joys of my life is the fact that I got to be on the radio with Martin Streek.
Absolutely. I got to work with Martin in the clubs, and the first time that I mixed CDs in public was the Phoenix.
That's really intense, bro.
Yeah, I went and I actually rented CDJs in the afternoon and went home and practiced because I was a student of these things right here. So that was at the time was a big pressure. And I remember Martin said to me at the start of the night, he's like, "Look, people think I'm playing the music on this show, so don't fuck up." And part of him was joking, but part of him is also dead serious, you know? And
so Saturday night at the Phoenix. So you're also in the wake of the legendary Paul Dingra, right? Who is one of the greats of all time. So yeah, that's a lot of pressure, man. That is a lot. How did it go?
It went great, actually. I love DJing. DJing was something that I actually got into radio through that because we did a show called Jungle Airwaves on Chin. When they did the Global Groove Network midnight to 5 a.m. thing. And that just kind of led me to, maybe I could do this as a career. So I didn't grow up wanting to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be like DJ Hype, you know, that was the dream. And that's what my friends and what we were into. So when that led to radio, it was such a pivot. Because commercial radio compared to going in and mixing some records and should we talk? I don't know. Maybe we should crack the mic and say something. It was so different, but you just it was fun. So you run with it and see where you end up. But to do the show with Martin, that would, the feeling of walking out of there that night and having it gone well was, I didn't sleep. I was on just an adrenaline high for the rest of the night. Yeah,
it's totally every generation has their thing that will make it powerful. But because it's an all on demand world now, essentially, what we really had with live to airs and with club culture, that was where rock music was in clubs, with live radio, pre-social media, where we were breaking songs, breaking bands. I remember, bro, 3:20 in the morning. So I go to work to do an overnight show, right? And we used to do a thing called a New Rock Preview. 3:20 in the afternoon, 6:20, and then 3:20 in the morning, right? And I was doing the overnight show. And I'll never forget it. Neil Mann, legend.
Great guy.
What a fucking legend. One of the great music directors of all time who doesn't get enough credit, I believe. Neil Mann's like, "Hey, I got this song from this band. You know this band?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like their last record. That's a good band." He's like, "Yeah, let's just play it at 3:20 in the morning. Let's see how it goes over. We're probably going to add it, but let's just see how it goes over." So I scratched it into and it just come in. So I had my printout for the playlist, and I saw in pen, right, the New Rock Preview, this song was added. I'm like, "Yeah, cool." He's like, "Let me know how the phones do." Because,
3:20 in the morning,
right? Yeah. 3:20 in the morning. So I sit back and I go to introduce it. I'm like, "Yeah, so there's this band that we like, they had this record and they had this record. It's been a minute. They got this brand new album." Anyway, and I pressed play on the song as I'm talking, and I can hear the song's intro build. And I realized very quickly, I have to stop talking because something's fucking happening here. So I'm like, anyway, here's this song, Toronto's New Rock 102.1 The Edge. Turn the microphone off. And I lean back, maybe 7 seconds into the song, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, you're like, holy fuck. What is this? I don't think I've ever heard a song like this. And if you remember in the studio, the phone, you had like the 5 lines, right?
Yeah, the TELUS, yeah.
Yeah, and they all lit up. They all lit up right away. And we're going fucking crazy. And then the private line lit up. And I'm like, the private line lit up. And I'm like,
it's Neil.
Hi. And it wasn't Neil, it was Stu, the boss, the program director. And he's like, how's the song doing? I'm like, it's killing it. He's like, okay, good. Then Neil calls me and he's like, right? And I'm like, right? Holy fuck. So I start taking all the calls. They're like, what is this song? What is this song? I'm like, yo, bro, this is a song called Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve.
Wow.
This is crazy. The phones went nuts. And I played it again. It was so, that kind of shit. Because now it's like, a song gets dropped on Twitter or Instagram and it's cool.
And radio is catching up with that. Yeah, it's flipped. Right. It's flipped on its head.
Right. But now it's also like everybody's like, what's going on? Here, you had to be listening to hear it.
Yeah.
You had to be listening to hear that kind of stuff. There's something really powerful when you let it come to you like that.
Well, that's why I find it so funny. Sometimes I'll hear on radio now, it's like, there's this great new song. Tune into the indie spotlight or the New Rock preview or whatever it might be tonight at 8:10. And it's like you just actually drove people away from your radio station and onto their device if they're interested in what you said. But yeah, there was a power. I remember Alan telling me too, it's that I'm like, how did you prep pre-internet? Like what and he's like, it's magazine clippings, it's this, it's that. And you create these folders and you just have this archive of information. Because
Alan used to come in so prepped. It was crazy to watch.
Scripted.
Like it was really inspiring. I would see Alan come to a show. I've never seen a person more prepped in my life for a show. He was so prepped and I learned a lot. When I was in college radio, I was a heavy prepper. And my program director said, this is not a radio documentary. It's a radio show. So, and watching Alan do it, I was like, no, information matters, right? Storytelling matters. And Alan is one of the great storytellers.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's, his real talent is he's reading, but it doesn't sound like someone who's reading.
Oh, dude, Alan Cross as a broadcaster is a whole other level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, whole other level. Yeah, he's really great. Well, and again, going back, like growing up in a city where you could listen to Alan Cross and John Derringer, where you could have the 6 o'clock Rock Report and you could have Live in Toronto. Oh my, what a lucky time.
Yeah, Kim Hughes, absolutely.
Yep. Totally.
See, it's interesting because just before I started at The Edge, we interviewed you on a morning show that I was on in Timmins. And then I was like, tell me about Alan because he's interviewing me in like 3 days.
Oh, nice.
And you gave me great information too, which was
nice. So awesome. Wait, so Alan was the PD at the time?
Yeah. So this is 2005.
Right.
We were talking to you because you were doing the hour on CBC. We'll circle back to talking to you talked to big movie stars and stuff on that show as well. I think something you said, you never felt vulnerable, exposed. Something that struck me watching you interview people on that show was how you could just lean in and, like Bookman, the information just seemed to be there, and you would react to something they said with and really engaging, and there's no intimidation or anything when you have massive, like, because you get A-list stars on there. Like, who are your favorite interviews from that show?
The secret to something like that, and like I was exposed and I made myself vulnerable, but I never felt it I never felt that was a liability.
It was a tool.
I felt that it was and a strength. It's a strength to be able to be open, right? To be a closed interviewer is really boring. And the guest has been interviewed a million times, so they know. Part of the reason why I was able to build a career as an interviewer is because I would ask the guest to walk on that high wire, but I was willing to go out there with them. And most shows, the guest feels like it's an onslaught.
Yeah.
And the ones where they really land, it's where it feels like a conversation. But what I would add to it is, hey, our conversation's going to be way up here. Like we are going to be a fucking, in dangerous zones. We're going to fly close, not gossip, not gotcha. Because to me, that's easy, right? And that's also investigative journalism needs gotcha. We weren't doing investigative journalism. We were doing conversation.
This isn't the Fifth Estate. Yeah, it's
100%. 100%. That's gotcha, and more is much more.
And some of those moments are beautiful, by the way. But
Oh
it's just,
God, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely. But to approach a guest with no pretense is really important, right? And I always knew that whatever benefits I wanted from this game, I was going to get anyway if I did it right. I didn't have to chase those things. You don't have to chase those things. Just those things will come if you do things the right way and if you get lucky, right? And I just kind of went out there and just looked at people and were like, hey, look, we're going to have a grown-up conversation here. And I think because of how I looked, I had my earrings, I had a studded belt on, jeans and a black T-shirt. I was interviewing prime ministers and presidents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in the green room, before an artist would get called out on the show, there'd be a highlight reel running, and they would see all the fucking people that I interviewed, right? And they would start to get ramped up because they're like,
this is
a big
deal. Yeah,
we're not fucking around here. So, and then I would meet them like, yeah, we're not fucking around. Let's go have a good time. Come on, let's go. And I think that as a result, people really connected to that. And so the biggest celebrities became really interesting people because I was able to find out not what they did, but why they did what they did.
Do you think that they might have looked at it as like, because there's a big difference, as a guy who goes between LA and Toronto, between the Canadian entertainment industry and the American entertainment. Yeah. Do you think that the big names that they would come there and think of like Canada as the minor leagues and maybe they weren't going to have a great interview, but then they like you see the highlight reel and all of a sudden
I think the grown-ups knew. I think the pros knew that Canadians had a particular approach, because it's a country that had Peter Zowski, right, who did some of the greats. Peter Zowski's Hunter S. Thompson stuff. So we're, Mansbridge, legend, so Mercer, and plus CBC, threw some pretty heavy hitting interviewers out there over time. Yeah. Adrian Arsenault's a journalist. But yes, who usually got caught off guard were the publicists. The publicists who just thought they were doing international press and would downplay the experience to their stars. Yeah. And then they'd be like, oh, fuck, that was different. Now, a lot of the publicists really liked it because we didn't want to talk to the people that weren't going to give. We're like, hey, those clients you have that wish they could have a real conversation? Yeah, that's who we want. And that's how we structured the way we booked the show. So people didn't show up who weren't prepared for a real conversation.
That's cool. It's such a great, because sometimes, like in radio stations, sometimes they just come through and it's like, okay, you've got 3 minutes, and what are you going to accomplish in that time?
Nothing, bro, nothing. You're going to get a soundbite. And that's exactly right. You can't, you can get lucky, but a 3-minute morning show interview when they're just doing one of 15 that day, they got up at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. It is really, really difficult to make that land.
Yeah. To get interesting content out of that. Yeah, it's good to hear you say that because I've been in those situations before and you're trying, you have these great ideas and when they've just got one to the other to go to, I would always try to find something, like I would say something like, hey, what's the worst question you've been asked today?
Yeah.
And, that, because then you might get something personal, like you, instead of, I mean, you can go through a litany of stereotypical bad interview questions, but if you could find that one thing that was weird or something like that. Alan had one like that with Courtney Love. He said he interviewed her once and knew she was a massive Echo and the Bunnymen fan. So when he opened his book to the questions, he had gone to what existed then was Tower Records and got like the most expensive import Echo and the Bunnymen that he could find and placed that there. So when he opened his book, boom, and she's instantly drawn to it. What is that? I haven't seen that. Brilliant. What a tactic.
Genius move. Yeah, there's this really interesting dance that you have to do where you don't want to make the interview about you, and you don't want to make the interview sound like you're showing off with your knowledge, but in very subtle ways, you're letting them know that you are not to be fucked with. Right? That's what it is. You are letting them know that you have expectations of them and that you belong in this conversation. Right. And so there's little ways you can do that. And that's what Alan was doing. Right. It's really smart. Really smart.
Absolutely. You recently got to interview Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Highlight of the career, that one?
Pretty cool. Yeah. It was pretty cool. Yeah. I'm obviously such a massive Stones fan. And I was definitely when I was a lot younger. Keith was everything I wanted him to be. And what I was grateful about Keith was that I got him to say stuff he hadn't told anybody before. And that was but that was because same idea, you have to earn the spot and you have to take risks in the questions. But to get to that from Keith, I had to take risks. And luckily for me, the risk paid off. But yeah, it was really cool when the FaceTime pops up and there's fucking Keith Richards standing there. He's like, "Hey, George." I'm like, "Bro, fucking Keith Richards, man."
I mean, he's just, he's larger than life. Like the whole, was he smoking? He was smoking through it?
That's a good question. I don't think he was smoking. I don't think he was. Maybe he was. Maybe he was. I didn't clue in.
That's just got to tell you that some of the stuff about like, substance abuse, like some of it has to be genetic. Cause that guy has like, how did he outlast Charlie Watts? Like that, you'd never be able to predict that, or Lemmy, or Bowie, or anything like of these.
I think Keith quit hard drugs a long time ago too, which is probably the smart move. The hard drugs,
yes,
right?
yes.
But
the cigarettes are one of the worst things. Like the cigarettes are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. No, I don't know, man. Keith is a special person. Keith and Ozzy. I've been in the company of Keith and Ozzy, and those two guys are still going. That's pretty amazing.
It's true.
Pretty amazing, yeah.
I remember seeing a photo too. You got to interview Joe Strummer. Was that was a House of Strombo? Was that?
No, that was Much Music. Okay, and I can see you've got the Clash record and the Mescaleros record behind you over your shoulder.
I popped those out real quick just before we started talking because I knew I was going to ask some Joe Strummer stuff because
Joe was pretty special.
Yeah, that's. I got into radio at 3 weeks before Joe passed.
Oh, wow.
So I was in Timmins, and I remember Colin, who's this great dude, loved punk rock. He was working in the newsroom, and he came down and told me that. And like, I was knocked off my chair. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like he's like 50. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, totally. I remember it so clearly. That day that I interviewed Joe, our friend Tony set it up from Epitaph Records, and she knew that, she knew my punk rock history and how I felt about the Clash. So I was working at Much Music, which is at the corner of Queen and John, you remember, in Toronto. And so we had set up a spot to interview Joe just up the street, 1 block north of Much Music at a church courtyard. But it was a church courtyard.
Okay, yeah.
And so I'm just standing there, and this car pulls up, and out comes Joe Strummer. And I'm just looking at him, and he's wiry, and he's, wearing what he's wearing. He's a good black jacket, I think, a white shirt, black pants, salt and peppery hair, but more black than, more pepper than salt. And he's like, how you doing? He's like, how you doing, man? I'm Joe. And I was like, how you doing, Joe? I'm George. He's like, all right, oh, man. Or he's like, and I think he'd said something nice because Tony had prepped him for it. And we got into it, and Joe was open. And this is the thing about the vulnerability we were talking about. To be open and essentially unworried about the response is power. And Joe was like, he's like, I made a mistake in the way I handled the Clash in those days. He's like, it was my fault. And he opened up, and then he said something that stays with me every day of my career, dude. He said, all these artists are trying so hard to be timeless. He says, fuck that. Your responsibility is to be of your time for your people. Let history decide what's timeless. You are there for the people in your time. And I that really, really hit me.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big thing to think about because
Yeah.
everybody wants to have a legacy, but you also have to connect with your people in order to do that. So I think that comes down to being real, being genuine.
Being real.
And the more genuine you are, the more, I think, the better chance you have of being, timeless, whatever,
Totally. And the funny thing about Much Music, dude, is it was like that every day. Like every day, you'd come into work in the morning, you'd like, oh fuck, there's Slash and there's fucking Dave Grohl and oh shit, there's so-and-so and oh my God, okay, guess who's coming in today? Fucking Kanye's in today. This is before Kanye was the Kanye that he is now.
Yeah.
But you're like every day you're just shit, there's Dead Prez. Every day a God walked in.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's true. Those days it was, and I mean, I feel like that type of programming could really thrive again today, but I don't know.
I differently, but yes.
But that connection of like having the artists in the environment and all that kind of thing is.
Yeah. Well, what you need to do is build a culture, right? And why Much Music was so powerful was the culture. Much Music's audience numbers weren't big, but the culture was powerful. You could do that now and just build a culture. And if you found a broadcaster who was patient enough, let it build over a bunch of years so that the culture is strong internally and have real we could absolutely make that work. But not really. I think that the generation coming up will be more open to it than the generation that currently exists.
Yeah, I think that, there's so much that you can do with that type of content in the modern landscape too. It's like, okay, you're going to have these big stars come in, musicians and stuff, and interact with their people, but then you're going to be able to like get so many clips for Instagram and Twitter, and because that's become. I remember in radio it was always like, okay, social media was coming up, and we have a responsibility to interact and be there with our audience,
right.
But it's only a supplement to what's happening on the air. And then all of a sudden it was like, there was this thing. It's like, okay, prep is the same thing. It's going in both areas. And then, well, we really got to push the social. So it got flipped on its head. But I think that there's a spot for the way things were with the way things are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you get it. I think podcasts have become the next gen of what good talk radio was, right? Good thoughtful talk radio.
Yeah.
Podcasts have kind of stepped up, that NPR kind of, CBC radio. If you like thoughtful conversation, it still exists on talk radio. Sorry, it still exists on public radio.
Right.
Corporate radio is very different, as you know. But podcasts, the challenge for music is nobody can afford the music rights.
For podcasts, right? Yeah.
For podcasts, right? And so that's why if you want streaming, it'll be either on a streamer or you'll get played on a commercial radio station or a radio station has a deal, because there's no place really for, like, good music conversations, great, but really we just want to hear the songs. So you can't do that on podcasts the same way that you can do with talk and ideas, right? So I think that whenever that gets sorted out, you might see the next step of what this will be. I don't think the radio that you and I loved is going to come back.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But
not for a while anyway.
That feeling of looking at the clock, being like, okay, we got 30 seconds. People are putting their headphones on, kind of like that last kind of, it's almost like a pre-game kind of thing,
Yeah, totally.
That feeling that like, okay, here we go.
Yep.
It adds to the content too. And I don't think it's there. And I don't get that same feeling in doing a podcast always, but.
And I think it's also relatively new, right? So I think it's just finding out what it could become.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really interesting, is finding out what it could become.
Sure. Something that popped up recently, a little controversy in the Canadian rock and roll world between Monster Truck and Danko Jones. And it has to do with the Kid Rock retooling of Don't Tell Me How to Live. I saw that Jon Harvey was being called racist, and I'd interviewed him on my podcast right after the George Floyd murder. And I played a clip of Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, who I love. He's awesome. And we talked about it, and I knew that this was a guy who does not have racial hate in his heart. And so I spoke up on his behalf. I didn't say what I didn't say anything about, which was what I found in some of the responses that I got. I didn't say anything about the artistic decision of what he did. I just said, this is a man who is not hateful. What were your thoughts on that whole thing? Because I saw that you tweeted an image that said, listen to Danko.
Yeah, I kind of subscribe to the Angela Davis school of thought here. It is not enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. It is not enough to be not racist. You have to be anti-racist.
Right.
I don't know the guy you're talking about. I don't know the guy you're talking about. So I don't know. I don't know that. But, and so I'm not talking about him specifically here. I'm not, sincerely, because I'm not, but we're in an era of some pretty interesting lines in the sand. And I think it's okay in the heat of a very, very challenging era. I think it's okay to look at somebody and say, who do you choose to align yourself with? And I think it's okay if you're a part of a song that says some crazy shit.
And it does, yeah.
And that's racist shit, by the way, right? If you're a part of a song that says some shit, well, then you're a part of the song that says some shit. What I don't like, just lean into what you did. Again, so let me separate this from Monster Truck Kid Rock, because I honestly, I don't give a fuck about, like, I give a fuck, but Kid Rock, the Kid Rock that I'm seeing now is not the Kid Rock that I knew. So right. The Kid Rock that I knew back in the day would not be this guy. But you know what? He's turned into this guy, or he's willing to play to that crowd, which to me is the same thing as being that guy, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's what I will tell you. If someone who is not white tells you that this is what racism is to them, don't tell them to shut up. Fucking listen, dude. Listen, right? So again, it is. I'm so bored with the moderates trying to walk a line, because when the moderates walk a line, what they're really doing is saying, here's what I'm okay compromising, right? Because I get away with this shit. That song, that Kid Rock song, said some fucking stupid shit.
To me, it was almost like professional wrestling. Like I when I saw the video, but it
wasn't wrestling to him, dude. It's wrestling, no. but wrestling we know is not real. It's scripted. This is pouring gasoline on a fire of a group of people who are just looking for another reason to wave that Confederate flag, and to wave that Gadsden flag. And I think it's really important in, difficult times require difficult choices. Mm-hmm. And I think if you take easy choices, don't be pissed off if people start calling you out, because fucking own it. And like fucking own it, or apologize, or you're in trouble. And Danko's a friend of mine, and Danko has been a real big fighter, to call out racism in the music business. And I just thought, listen to Danko. Listen to Danko. Yeah. And again, let me be very clear about this. I don't know the Monster Truck guys. I know who they are. I've played their stuff on my radio show back in the day. I remember Don Cherry went apeshit for them. I mean, Don Cherry loved them. So there was a natural, he loved them, right, on Hockey Night in Canada. Yeah. So there was a really, so I knew Monster Truck. And of course, being in the music business, I liked the songs that they had made, right? So I don't have any ill will towards, I don't know the guys, right?
Yeah.
But when I saw what happened, I'm like, the George Floyd thing had just happened not that long ago. Like, Kid Rock has said what are we doing here?
Yeah, he went to the White House with Ted Nugent, that whole...
Right?
Yeah.
What are we fucking doing here? So, and I'll say this to anybody. You can be judged by the company you keep. If the company you keep is clearly opposed to inclusion.
Yeah.
And if you pour gasoline on the fires of hatred, it doesn't matter. that you didn't mean for it. Like you did it. Again, that's not about Monster Truck. That's about Kid Rock I'm talking about.
Of course,
right?
Yeah, because Kid Rock is, leaned into the MAGA thing and is associated with, because I saw some reactions to, what I wrote, and someone had said, how I don't see racism in this. It seems like an anti-mask, which is kind of also a problematic issue, but is it just because association, it's if you're anti-mask, if you're calling people snowflakes and getting offended over having an opinion, and millennials and all of those catchphrases that go along with that.
Bro, we're white guys. We're white guys, or white presenting guys, right? I'm a white presenting ethnic guy, but I'm a white guy. You're a white guy. Like, this is my whole point, is that it's not up to us to have a nuanced debate about what we think something is, because we know that microaggressions and racism and macroaggressions exist. We know that it exists in the music business. We know that Kid Rock and Ted Nugent have been a part of some pretty crazy, awful things that have been said. We know that. So we can nuance those guys can nuance debate. Well, I think it's fuck whatever.
That's what Twitter is, essentially. Yeah.
Here's what victims of racism are telling you. Like, listen.
Yeah, it was a weird spot for me, just because I knew the guy as a friend. We messaged from time to time, and heads, like, before I did the podcast with him, after that, whatever. And I just found that I was on the other side of those. Like, I've been called a snowflake, I've been called a cuck, I've been called a libtard, I've been called all of those things that you get from those people, who I would never.
Now suddenly people thought you were on their side.
Yeah, I would never align myself with that. But I was just saying, it's not the art. I'm just saying the man's heart. That's all I can say in this situation. There's going to be an artistic consequence to pay for it, and that will be what it is.
Did you, when you interviewed him, did you tell him, or like, did you? How did you call them? Did you say, hey, this is what people think?
No, our interview was well before this.
Oh, I see.
This collaboration. We did it. It was done in June of 2020. So I started it. I started the podcast by saying, like, right now America is burning. And that was a good chunk of it. And it was solely because of that discussion that I thought that, yeah. So
all I know is that Danko, and not just Danko, but Danko quite rightly has been addressing racism in the music business in Canada for a long time. And the Canadian industry Canadians in general have been pretty smug over time about who they are relative to the United States.
We're not them. The racism didn't happen here, or slavery didn't happen here. All that, yes, 100%.
But we should by now know that all that's bullshit. Right.
The residential school in Kamloops is like, that is
yes, but also, like, people.
Gord Downey warned us. Gord told us.
And how many before said it, right?
Yeah.
And not just with Indigenous peoples, but if you're black or brown in Canada, racism is very real. I grew up in neighborhoods that were not, wholly white, and so I watched how police treated people who weren't white. They treated all of us badly, but they treated people who weren't white worse in my neighborhoods, at least in our experiences, right? So like, I'm on Team Danko. Oh my God. I mean, first of all, Team Danko is team anti-racism. So I'm on team anti-racism.
Yes.
And people reached out to me because some guys were mad at me when I wrote that, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, hey, bro, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm not on your side. I'm not on the side of well, if we look at it this way, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it, because that's the kind of thinking that has created a safe space for Kid Rock to say stupid shit for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. And listen, snowflake culture, yes, but let's be very clear. The conservatives are the OG snowflakes.
Of course.
They're the OG snowflakes, man. They're the ones that invented cancel culture. These are the fuckers in the anti-communist run in the House on Un-American Activities. Like, let's be like, all these malakas who are just like these anti-Trudeau guys, or these fucking, hey, you're exactly who you hate, by the way. They're just not for whatever, but because it's the human condition, bro. The human condition is take a look at what's happening over there as opposed to looking at what's happening inside you. And so what for Kid Rock to do all that stuff, I'm just like, what do you like? First of all, Kid Rock's actually pretty bright. So he either he believes it, or like I said, either he believes this now or he's playing to his base. Either way, unacceptable in the modern conversation, and he should be called out for it.
I think that maybe that style of music isn't where it was back in, 99, 2000, 2001, where like rock radio was super like testosterone driven and aggressive, and that rap rock and nu metal and all that stuff, it's not there anymore. So there's the audience. It's an artistic decision, because Kid Rock has a son who is black. So, I mean, would I love to ask him some questions, just to pick, like, how do you reconcile that with this,
But the thing is, you can't reconcile the two. You just have to.
Well, I know that, but I'd like to hear his rationalization of it.
Yeah. And look, it just comes down to layers of understanding and layers of listening. I was in no way am I going to tell people who aren't white how they should feel about racism.
Of course.
Why would I do that? Like that is not, no. In fact, what do you need? Like, you and I have been in the media a long time. It's our responsibility to do this the right way. It is not our responsibility to fight for old thinking. It is like the media in Canada have propped up shitty ideas and exclusionary, hopefully I never have and hopefully you never have, but maybe in some deep-seated way we weren't aware of the realities, that people who aren't white deal with. So we unintentionally, but regardless, still were part of the system, right? So our intention is irrelevant in this context. So it's just not enough to not be racist. You have to be
anti-racist. Yeah.
You have to be anti-racist.
Yeah. And in terms of can't we just accept, again, just adopt the punk rock ideology of like left or right, they're both lying scumbags,
No, but I'll tell you why I don't subscribe to that, because only one group of people is trying to eliminate other people's rights.
Right. Yeah. It's a different. But the thing is, there's always scandal and stuff like that in either side, and
sure. Whenever you talk about organized politics, because it's made up of people, so people are people, and just because you have good politics doesn't mean you're a good person. Just because you have good values doesn't mean you're a good person. Good political values doesn't mean you're a good person, right? Also, what is a good person versus what's a bad person? But look, I don't think we have in Canada, only two parties have ever run the country, right, federally, right?
Yep.
The Liberal Party, to me, are not a left-wing party. They're a center party, center-right on a lot of issues, center-left on some issues, but they're a centrist party. See, from my punk rock point of view, the center is the right? So we actually don't really have right or left in Canada. Like, we have
moderate and right, middle and right.
We have totally.
Yeah.
In the United States, the Democrats are far more right wing than they would ever acknowledge.
They had their opportunity with Bernie, and then Trump never happened. If they went with Bernie, and the world is a much different place.
You said it. Your lips to George Carlin's ears. They had a chance, but brainwashed, and also the media. I was down here watching those primaries. I watched the corporate media completely go into anti-Bernie mode to promote Joe Biden by putting on really anti-Bernie leaders of the Democratic establishment. So
you mean for really Hillary? For Hillary?
Pardon me?
You mean
no, but also for Joe.
Okay, so 2020 and 2016, yeah,
that's right, yeah, and so to me, the people have been basically, regardless of your political ideology as a working class or somebody in poverty, and there's way too many people in poverty in anywhere in the world, but certainly in Canada and the United States, they're all victims of a corporate electoral process that is working hard to not let you participate. Corporations spend tons of money to upend local politics to get their people in. Like, it's all that, right?
Redistricting and gerrymandering in the U.S. is
huge.
Yeah.
But you got to, like, as long, but I will say this. And yes, I don't agree with the policies of every party that's more left wing. Of course not. I don't. Politics isn't about all my values winning. Politics is weirdly about compromise because that's what democracy sort of is. But there is still only one side that is actively trying to prevent people from voting, people who aren't white.
Right.
Like actively trying to prevent people who aren't white from voting. And so there's no good in both, there's no like bad on both sides in that context.
No,
only one party is actively doing that. And
I mean, that's more an American thing than, like, that doesn't happen in Canada where they're trying to block.
Not with voter registration, but there's still one party in Canada that refuses to acknowledge climate change in the real way. There's still one party in Canada that actively, works against people who aren't like them. By the way, I'm no liberal apologist. I'm not on that side. I'm not. That's
no, I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
So I'm just saying that, like, Canada doesn't have the same version of redistricting we do, but not like what it is in the United States. Different political system, as you know, altogether. But,
yes. Yeah.
But Canada is deeply flawed politically, and our system is deeply flawed. You got to get money out of politics. We're in a better spot that way.
Yes.
Than they are in the United States.
Yeah.
For sure.
The election season is treated like a professional sports in
Everything's
the U.S.
football here, bro.
Yeah,
everything's football.
Nothing. It never stops either, right? Like it's like the midterms are coming up, and then it's just endless. Whereas, we have these nice little elections that are all wrapped up, start to go to finish like in 3 months.
I love that.
Yeah, it's because you can actually get stuff done besides just campaigning. It's got to get worse before it gets better, though. I think that the America in particular is in a really dangerous spot these days. And when we think about that Kid Rock discussion right now, Joe Rogan is that guy at this moment as well, where he went from just like the curious, middle of the road, question everything guy who had some interesting conversations. Are there aliens out there? Like that kind of thing, to anti-vax MAGA boy with the biggest audience. Is he going to be one of the most dangerous voices moving forward? Because it looks to me like that.
I don't know. I think this is his moment, and these moments last a long time, or they don't last a long time, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what the Joe Rogan thing is. I know he's incredibly popular. He's clearly found a home with a lot of people whose opinions he validates, and yeah, a lot of that information appears to be very dangerous.
Absolutely.
I will say this. I agree with one thing about Joe Rogan's approach. One thing that Joe Rogan says that I do agree with, which is Joe Rogan is healthy. Like, Joe Rogan has been a part of the health fitness world for a long time. Mm-hmm. So when people who live unhealthy lives talk to Joe Rogan about being healthy, he's not going to listen to them.
Right.
So but again, going back to the punk rock music roots, right, idea is that I'm a firm believer in nothing happens in a vacuum. And I remember interviewing Ralph Nader, and Ralph Nader said to me once, the iron rule of ecology is that everything is connected. So you want people, do I want people to be vaccinated? Well, first of all, I'm vaxxed and boosted, for sure. Based on the best information that I can acquire, watching the news and reading and listening to what I think are experts, it's a fucking gamble. Did I do my own independent clinical research? I did not. So I don't walk around with this absolute certainty about my health status, right? Based on the best available information, this is where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
And the majority of people are that way too. Like it's,
yes.
I think 80% and 87% in Canada or something like that. Yeah.
But the part that I do agree with Joe Rogan, and I'm not a Joe Rogan, I don't listen to the show, so I don't want to support or criticize.
It's in the news, based on what's in the news.
It's in the news. That's based on what I hear. I don't really listen to it. Although I used to love his long form interviews with celebrities. I thought they were pretty crazy.
That's when I would watch him, is like someone that I admire who's on there, like, oh, Josh Homme's on Rogan. I'm going to watch that.
His fucking Elon Musk shit's crazy.
Yes.
It's great to watch. But but here's what I'm going to say about this, which is people keep talking about don't overload the healthcare system. Don't overload the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts with food, bro. It all starts with food. So our country, so all my friends who are like angry at Joe Rogan, I'm like, yo, you don't give a fuck about health care because you eat bullshit and promote bullshit, right? You my friends who are celebrities who are mad, I'm like, you motherfuckers are going out selling soft drinks on social media and you're fucking doing influencer ads for garbage food. So you don't care about the healthcare system, right? If you did, you would address the root. We're supposed to address the root causes of poverty. We're supposed to address the root causes of systemic racism. We're supposed to address the root causes of colonialism, well, which is a root cause. We're supposed to address the root causes of all this stuff if we really want to make change. When I'm watching all these debates going on about the healthcare system, I'm like, when are we going to address the root causes of that? Which, by the way, are connected to poverty, are connected to misogyny, are connected to patriarchy. Like,
the cheapest diet is a unhealthy diet. A fast food, it's the cheapest, right? It's
in many respects.
Yes.
In many respects, that there are places with food deserts, right? So when I say my friends who are mad at Joe Rogan, I'm like, bro, you promote Sprite. No disrespect to Sprite. You promote this product. You promote that product. You promote shit with this much sugar in it. Sorry, my hockey player, your hockey player friends who do ads for products that are so bad for kids. So fucking bad for kids.
Yep.
And I'm like, you don't, going back to the Kid Rock discussion, don't tell me you're about something if you align yourself in a way that you don't, like you're not, right? So I do not subscribe to most of what I hear Joe Rogan saying about COVID. I don't agree with all of it, pretty much.
Right.
I don't agree with.
Well, neither he tries to discredit actual medical doctors that go on his show. He's like, well, I don't think so. You know,
of course he does.
Yeah.
Of course he does. But by the way, if I ever wrote a book,
you should.
I won't. But if I ever did, I would call it, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? Right? This is a country that elected Donald Trump, dude. And after that 4 years, he got way more votes the second time around. For the record, while Joe Biden and Donald Trump are very different people, take a look at Joe Biden's track record. Was that a track record of change?
I think he's evolved over his career, but he's been in politics for far too long, right? Like you're going to have some problematic things from 30 years ago.
But is it a track record of change? With politicians, here's where I blame the voter. I don't blame the voter. Here's where I challenge the voter. Don't listen to what they say. Look at their voting record.
Watch what they do. Yeah.
Just their voting record. Their voting record is enough. That's the person they're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll know who they're in bed with. Look at their voting record. But again, because I come from a culture, I grew up with, raised by Eastern European immigrants, right? Who either fled a Nazi-led world or a communist-led world.
Yeah. Yep.
So I grew up in a family who's used to the government being dangerous. So as much as
which a lot of people that come to North America come from environments like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So as much as my family tried to assimilate, you cannot take away that we don't have a Pollyanna view of government. So I just grew up believing that, well, just because they're in charge doesn't mean they're on our side. And suddenly in the last 10 years, everyone's like, oh my God, like, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? You know, one of the craziest things I ever hear, and you hear it all the fucking time. You know what? I like that politician. I could have a drink with them. What? That's your fucking bar? Yeah, he's relatable. Oh, your standards are way too fucking low. I want the leaders of my country to be the smartest people in the country. I don't care if I can relate to them. I want them to take their smarts and fight for people, not against them.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that corporations and political structure, musicians, like the infrastructure, the establishment play a role in feeding people information, misinformation, disinformation, for sure. But I do think people just need to realize that what they're looking for in a leader is just, it's been wrong for a while. If what you're looking for is that.
What I admired about Bernie, and I didn't agree with all of his policies, but a lot of them, like I liked what he was preaching and how he was going about it. I liked him mostly because he was the only politician that I actually believed.
Bernie was all about workers' rights as a thing, right? That, and addressing the root causes of poverty.
As he's been for his entire career.
Right. So people are like, that's where are we going to get the money? That's too radical. What do you mean where are you going to get the money? Where they always get the money. They always get the money. The money's just going to go from here to here. Like, there's government's jobs really, and a big part of it is they take in money and they figure out where it gets spent. Right.
Yep.
There are a lot of musicians where, like, early on, a lot of the cool musicians that I like I went to a Bernie rally, and Chuck D and Be Real from Cyprus. So Chuck D and Be Real were both there, and I'm like, okay, Killer Mike, okay,
yeah,
I'm here for this.
Yep. He's been on Bill Maher's show, and whenever he is on there, it's like, okay, I'm definitely going to watch that one. Like, I could listen to Killer Mike talk all day.
He says,
and I love Run the Jewels too. So,
oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah. When Killer Mike says Bernard Sanders, I'm like, oh, I love it. Again, and I know that there's people who just get mad at us just because we're talking about Bernie this way, and I don't care, because democracy is pick your side and cool, but lean into your side if you have a side. Like, be okay with your choices.
Yeah, yeah. Now, some people with punk rock stripes have gotten into the world of politics. Joey Shithead from DOA. Even Chris Novoselic of Nirvana got into politics. Is that something that you would ever consider in your future? Because I think in Canada, there'd be some support.
Wow, you're kind to say that. Thank you. When I was really young, like 12, I would be listening to Led Zeppelin, Motley Crue, Metallica, The Clash, the Ramones, The Who, like I was listening to what I would listen to. Then I was lucky enough to be introduced to the Misfits and to Crass. So when I went from the Clash to Crass, I saw the power of being on the outside. And I leaned into that.
Yes.
But what I also did was I would write to the House of Commons regularly and ask for what were called Hansard reports. Hansard reports, if you're listening and you don't know, it's a record of what was said during question period and how people voted. Mm-hmm. And I would get boxes of Hansard reports. You'd write for a date. I want this date, this date, this date. If I knew they were debating an issue, because I was reading the newspaper at that time at 12 years old, like crazy. And then,
it's not normal.
Yeah, totally. And I would get these boxes. My mom would be like, why are you getting all these boxes from the government of Canada? What is that all about? And I would be like, it would just be boxes of Hansard reports. And I would read what the politicians said. So I was very engaged.
At 12, you were doing this?
12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, yeah, man. Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so this, I'm going to lean into this more now. I think you should be in politics.
Well, but here's the problem, dude. I don't think I couldn't pick a party to run for, right? Fair. I don't think that they would want me because I'm too much, I speak my mind. And here's the thing about Canada. You can win your riding, right? You could win your riding. If you do it right, you could win your riding.
Yeah.
Then you can win a convention. But the kind of like shittiness of this infrastructure of politics, I'm not particularly interested in. I'm not interested in that. And I also think that everybody has to serve a role. And I think I know what my role can be, which is I'm an effective questioner because I'm a curious person and I believe in people. I believe in getting to the heart of a matter.
And you've done some great some great charity work in going overseas over the course of your career and doing those things as well.
I just care about doing the best I can with the time I have, right? This short blip that we have. And politics to me is powerful, interesting, can be very meaningful. But I think for me to be involved in politics, things would have to be a little different than they are today. You know, I'm pretty straightforward, as you know.
Yeah.
And I would campaign in a very straightforward way. And
I think that connects with people, though. I think that's what I think people are dying for that.
I don't know. Do people really want that? Look, when they people only like straightforward talkers when they're the Ford brothers or Trump. They don't.
Well, that's the problem, right? The straightforward talkers are always of that stripe, other than Bernie.
Therein lies the rub. And even Bernie got fucking ambushed. So therein lies the rub, right? So no, I don't think politics is part of my future. I definitely, when I was younger, I thought it would be. Definitely was younger. And I do have a lot of respect for politicians. I do not subscribe to that theory that all politicians are in it for power. That's not true. All politicians only care about getting reelected. That is not true. Many, many, many believe in public service. Many more, tons of hours, are underpaid, get way more hate than they deserve, get obliterated because they ordered an orange juice from a fucking hotel that cost $20. Like the scrutiny, like that to me is stupid shit. I remember being on the air doing the talk show. You know, Mr. Harper and I did not have the same political views at all.
Not much in common there. Nope.
Yeah, not at all. No shock, right? But I remember. I don't remember the details properly. But Mr. Harper took Canada One or whatever the plane and got tickets to take his son to a tennis match in I think it was the U.S. Open or something like that, right? And I remember people in the center left went bananas over it. Waste of taxpayer dollars, da da da. And I remember going on the CBC is me, who have clearly a particular point of view. And I went, are you telling me that the Prime Minister of Canada, he's got the fucking plane, who probably doesn't see his kid nearly enough, just for a moment, he's just like flexing for his son to take his, like, you want that fucking guy to fly coach? Stop it. Stop it. People are like, it's a waste of money. I'm like, fuck off. Money is that kind of money. Like he's the Prime Minister of Canada, man, who's taking he's flexing for his son. Take him to the U.S. Open. It's not that far a flight from New York to Flushing anyway, or from Ottawa to Flushing. Like, is this what we're going to fight? It's like when my friends on the left were making fun of Trump when he would misspell words on Twitter. It's like, you're making, like, I get it. He should know. I get it. But
there's bigger issues at hand.
Yeah, this is where we are. And my friends were like, it is a waste of taxpayer dollars. I'm like, nah, but he doesn't get paid that much. All our prime ministers, by the way, when they leave office, they need jobs for the most part. Not all of them. Like Martin had money and Trudeau, I believe, had money. But for the most part, they needed to get jobs to get paid because they're not rich people. So as critical as I was of Mr. Harper and I was of his policies, I didn't give a shit if he took his son to the fucking U.S. Open.
Yeah,
because we all want perks in our jobs. It's the fucking shitty job being the prime minister, right? So the Canadian people, I think, need to figure out what's important to them, and if they expensed an orange juice at a fucking hotel, really?
So
okay.
be it.
It's a perk, bro. Like, let them have perks. What I don't want is if the hotel gave them that orange juice in exchange for rezoning. That's not cool.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
Not a perk. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's something that might happen more in the U.S. than in Canada. But
it happens in Canada. It happens in Canada.
I'm sure. Yeah. So, okay, maybe you're the guy who gets to hold Canadian politicians' feet to the fire. I think that would be.
I did for a while.
Yeah.
But politics to me is really powerful, and I don't want to dismiss it. I really do think it's really interesting and very important. I don't think I'm ready. I think I'm too young for it. I think that even though I'm not young, I feel like there's a certain level of life experience that I would like to accomplish, and a little bit more freedom. But
it is giving up a lot of personal freedoms to get involved in that life too.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. You're exactly right, my friend. Exactly right. And also, I have a lot of respect for that job. I think a local MP has a really shitty job because they have to toe party line. But see, the reason why they would never let me get into politics is because I would blow up the whole system. I'd blow up the whole system. I would decentralize Ottawa. I would create a whole other structure where the politician actually represents their local constituency more than they represent the party. And then it would be our job as the party leaders to find ways to build a version of consensus. I wouldn't do this toe the party line bullshit. By the way, not about human rights issues. Human rights issues, everything is not partisan to me. A woman's right to choose is not a political, it's a human rights issue.
Yeah.
Same-sex marriage equality is a human rights issue.
Absolutely.
So to me, those are not partisan issues. But on the other
But they are, though. They're the biggest ones.
But they shouldn't be. And they are because they are because somehow the people who are on the right just seem to be better marketers than the people on the left.
It diverts attention from stuff that should receive some scrutiny, I think, too. And that's it. So it probably serves a purpose in that regard.
Dude, everything is root causes. Everything is root causes, right? You know it. Like the attention needs to go to the root. All these people who vote for parties because they can run a business, they would never let their businesses be run the way they run when they're in power. You want to reduce healthcare costs. I keep hearing about conservatives complaining about healthcare costs and welfare and all that other stuff. All right. Well, do you want to end that? Address the root causes of poverty and systemic oppression. That's actually how you end it, by the way.
Of course it is, yeah. But here's the problem, though, is
they don't want that, though.
No, well, they also can't accomplish it in their terms, and they want to accomplish something. So you can't.
See, but I think they could. I think they could.
They probably could, but they don't. I don't think they have the resolve.
That's now you're exactly right. It's the resolve, bro. You're right. I actually truly believe that if the parties decided to get together and go, okay, the root causes of poverty and class war they're the most pressing issues of our time. And if we address those in a holistic, proper way together, we will eliminate an enormous amount of other stuff to deal with. I believe that if all three parties at the very understood that people who are poor, it's not their fault. It's not their fault.
They don't choose it. No. Absolutely.
And I know you wanted to talk about music and radio. I'm sorry, we're going off on this tangent. But to me, it's all punk rock.
Yeah,
it's all punk rock.
I was going to say that. I mean, if I could license a song, it would be a Billy Bragg song to wrap this podcast up. But punk rock and politics are, and always have been, hand in hand.
And always have been, and they should be. And they should be, because it is the voice of the unheard. And that's why gang lyrics, when I mean gang vocals, like when everybody comes together and screams the chorus at the same time, that's fucking unity. That's Avenues and Alleyways by Rancid. Oi, oi, oi. That's unity. It's a unity song. It's an anti-racism song. It's an anti-class war song. Like, that's what we're here for. So that's informed everything, which is why I've become rather annoying to some people in this game, because I'll just keep ringing the bell of like, oh, I agree with everybody that healthcare costs should be lower. But the science and the math say, well, let's just go to the root causes. And there's no magic bullet. And politicians, to your point, who want to accomplish something, are looking for the headline, and they're looking for the data where they can say fixed.
Exactly. Right.
If I got into politics, it wouldn't be about that. It would be like, no, let's just fucking time for a rethink, friends. Right? The system's not working. I grew up in a really poor part of the west side of Toronto. Right? So I didn't grow up in the Canada that I hear people talking about. When I hear prime ministers talk about Canada, when I got to Hockey Night in Canada and I heard their version of Canada, I'm like, oh yeah, no. When I got to CBC and I heard them talking about Canada, I was like, well, it's not the Canada I grew up in. It is simply not the Canada I grew up in. It's whatever you're talking about is real for some people, but it is not the Canada I grew up in. And music to me, because borders are arbitrary, as we know, and were imposed through colonialism and deal making and all that other stuff. When I hear the Clash singing, or when I heard Crass singing, or when I heard Public Enemy singing, or later on as I got older, when I heard Mike or MCA singing about all the misogyny in music and how that had to be stopped, right?
And they were proponents of it with their first record, like kind of.
Yeah, because they were. They were kids. I remember talking to Ad Rock and Mike D about that. And they were like, right near the last week of that tour, they were like, fuck, we were joking. We didn't realize these jokes aren't funny. And also, I think our audience believes us, right? We aren't these guys. We got to change. And so for me, politicians weren't really there. Now, I say that, but of course, you know, Tommy Douglas brought in universal health care to Canada and Saskatchewan, which of course was then adopted by the Liberals. And the politicians have done the hard work with social activists to make change. I know that. But at the time, I didn't feel like the infrastructure of politics was on my side, right? And as I've gotten older, I've recognized the nuance of that. And I'm not cynical and go, it's all shit, because it's not all shit. And to say it's all shit is a mistake. You know, CERB was a good idea. It wasn't enough. It should keep going. How come people only got $2,000 or whatever they got? How come people even, sorry, one sec here. How come people even needed that in the first place, right? Like, so there are lots of questions that I hope that through these really difficult times, people look around and go, oh, we are all in the same storm, but we are not all in the same boat. And our job is to make sure that everybody can get in the same boat or has an opportunity to be in the same boat. And that the reason they're not in the same boat is because of our consumer choices and governments. That, by the way, is a small part of it. But a large part of it, you know, I'm fucked, dude, because I grew up reading Adbusters. And, you know, and so it really, to me, none of this is a surprise. But I continue to fight because I really believe in it.
What did you think was going to happen?
What did you think? And I recognize my own hypocrisy as a fucking consumer. Like, I buy shit. So I'm trying to be more ethical and conscientious about how I buy. And I know that I will make an impact, a tiny, tiny impact. But I tried by amplifying voices of people who are fighting for big, meaningful systemic change and being like you are as well. Like, we can do that sort of stuff. And then I hope musicians will pick up the fight. And of course, I learned this from musicians.
Of course.
I learned this from music. I learned about this stuff from Bob Dylan and from Patti Smith and Joan Baez. And I learned about this stuff from listening to the old gospel tunes. Even though I don't believe in God, I listen to Mahalia Jackson. I get it. I listen to Billie Holiday. Okay. Like, I learned this from them. And I just feel like we got more learning to do.
Yeah. I think for me, Public Enemy brought a lot of issues to light that I never would have thought of. And that's just a great example of how music can inform and help shape opinions and minds.
You know, and I mentioned him earlier, dude. George Carlin was enormous for me in me opening my eyes. George Carlin was absolutely enormous for me in learning a different way to approach this. I never wanted to be a cliche who's just like, oh, there's a left-wing guy with left-wing. Yes, clearly a lot of my values would sit in the left-wing camp, clearly, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to, it wasn't enough for me to have this point of view. Carlin and I mean, maybe not so much PE, but U2 did a lot of it where it was like, it's not enough to feel this way. Now we got to find a way to bridge the gap for real change. You know, I look at people now, like Bono went and met with George W. Bush and convinced George W. Bush to untie billions of dollars in aid, which made a big, big impact in the fight against HIV, AIDS, and poverty in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa specifically, right?
Yes.
People would be mad at him for meeting with George W. Bush today.
Yeah.
So Bono told me directly, he's like, look, man, I get why people are mad at me. He says, I get it, but I would have dinner with the devil if I thought it could save lives. And so everybody has to just do their part. It takes
balls to do that too, you know, because, yeah. And you have to respect that. You have to respect that.
Bono and Bob Geldof and the work they have done have actually now, they're smart. They know that the work is being done on the ground by people in the field. And they're shining a light on it, and they're using their celebrity to get the money and attention to embolden the work of those who are on the ground. That's what a rock and roller can do. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what a goddamn superstar should do. And
who's carrying that torch then now?
Fucking Bono's still doing it. Yeah, I mean, who's doing it now? I think they're doing it in different ways. I think that I don't know who's that fight is different now. I think you're seeing a lot of local stuff. So you're seeing Killer Mike being a very active voice. John Legend, very active voice.
Yeah.
Akon, magic work Akon's doing, in parts around, in places around the world. So it's being done. It is being done. But the heavy lobbying of government in that way, I don't know. First of all, here's what you have: Kanye and Donald Trump, Kid Rock and Donald Trump. That's how it's being done.
It's a circus. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe Biden doesn't have the values that Bono has. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris don't have the values that Bob Geldof had. They've been in politics for a long time, right? So we're in a very domestic time, right? Domestic time. I was being interviewed by somebody the other day who said, Canada should make sure that Canadians have, and I'm like, whoa. Borders are arbitrary. People are people. It's our responsibility to make sure that everybody around the world is okay. Well, I believe Canadians first. No, dude, you were fucking born here by luck. Don't claim this Canadian shit. You didn't make this country what it was. You were born here. So you should be protected because you got lucky in your world? No. Also, these countries around the world that require some assistance and aid, they're usually heavy victims of colonialism, and you benefited from that. So this is the kind of conversations that I have with musicians. So it does happen, but it's happening differently. I think Akon's done amazing work, like I said, but it's still Bono. It's still Bono and people like him, doing John Legend, amazing. What Lady Gaga did for the LGBTQ plus community, massive.
Yes.
Absolutely massive. So I think there's lots of places, but I think if you're not addressing the root causes of poverty, everything is going to be important band-aids. They are important band-aids and important surgeries, but the symptoms that there's like, we have to address the root causes of this imbalance. White supremacy, all of this stuff, white privilege, all this stuff is it's real, and it has to be addressed. And and people shouldn't fight it. They should be for it.
Yeah.
Like before the change. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. You talk about, things like developing countries being, adversely affected by colonialism and stuff like that. Climate is also the same thing, because you're going to create it, with rising sea levels, climate refugees, and that's a massive responsibility as well. It's going to be taken on by the countries where people tend to flee to, and that's North America for a lot of people. Yeah.
Aside from an island, which has a pretty defined border, borders are arbitrary, and were determined usually through war, colonialism, theft, oppression.
All of those things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which means somebody came up with it, which means somebody can reimagine it. And we can reimagine who we are as Canadians. I'm clearly so grateful that I came from Canada, because Canada did afford me a lot of opportunities that I would not have got in other countries if my mother or my father's homeland, if my father never left Egypt, right? If my mother never left where she's from, I wouldn't have been born. But if I was in any of those countries, I would not have had the same. So I get it. But it is not enough to say, hey, it worked out for me, so it can work out for everybody, because that would be naive and irresponsible and frankly dangerous, because not everybody has been given the same opportunities that we have had. And it's our job not to protect it for us, but to mean that everybody can have it. And if we had struggles like my mother did and my grandmother did when she came over, we don't want why do we want other people to struggle the way, why? If we learn nothing, clear a path. That's the Canada I want. Those are the musicians I like to support. Those are the artists I like to get behind. When artists are about themselves, I'm super bored of it. Because I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, go get your bags. And I'm happy. Go get your bags. Your bags are important.
Yeah.
They are.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, go get your bags. It's fucking important, dude. Live your life. I'm not mad at you if you buy a house and a nice car. I ain't mad at you. Go get your bags, right? But now that you got your bags, can we do this? Again, action and inaction. There's two ways of being. In action, you can be rolling or you can be racing, but inaction is inaction. And then there's, I guess, reverse too. But
and things do feel like they've gone in reverse a lot over the last 5 years. I mean, more so than ever in my lifetime, it feels. Because, I mean, did you ever think you would see like people chanting with torches like in Charleston? Like, that's not something I thought I would ever see in my lifetime. And it's sad that that happened.
You know, I have I've driven a motorcycle or a car across the United States and Canada maybe 30 or 40 times in my life. And I love a road trip. I love a road trip. And I spent enough time in the non-urban parts, the non-city parts of the US and Canada to sit back and go, what did you think was going to happen? Right?
Yeah.
You know, and again, and I don't mean that snidely, like you could see, and look, a lot of these people who are racist are also victims of this economic oppression, because there's a lot of poverty in these communities as well, right? And they're being lied to by the media, corporate media, corporate news media. They're being fueled by the Kid Rock shit, the wrong shit. I gotta tell you, man, the Kid Rock thing, I gotta tell you, like, I knew Kid Rock early. Like, I knew Kid Rock in the 90s, you know, and I knew Bob early. That Bob is not this Bob. Like, he's not this Bob. This is what was really, and look, people grow and people change. So he's this Bob, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, God, Kid Rock could have been such a powerful voice for the other side, you know? Could have been
and should have been. I mean, based on the roots of where he came from, this like hard rock rap thing, this, you know.
Like, I mean, it's
there's so much of that in culture today where things are just flipped on their heads, and it's seemingly not the way that they should have turned out, you know.
No, like Eric Clapton being Eric Clapton today does not surprise me. This is Eric Clapton, great guitarist. This is great. Yeah.
The lawsuit over the bootleg tape, that was, I'm like,
like Van Morrissey, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
None of this is surprising to me, right? At all. Kid Rock, I guess we saw it coming with American Badass, but that was in the 2000s, Kid Rock.
That was that meant a different thing back then. It meant a completely different thing.
The 90s Kid Rock, again, I don't want to turn into a bashing, because I don't know the man now. I haven't talked to him in years. I don't know. I'm just saying that people can grow. Here's the thing, bro. The people who you disagree with, who disagree with you, can become amazing allies if they learn, if they grow. I look at the evolution of Dennis Miller, the evolution of Joe, the evolution of those guys, and I'm like, wow, it's a shame, because, but we have Jon Stewart, and we have, you know, Samantha Bee, and we have John Oliver, and we have Colbert,
John Oliver in particular has done an amazing body of work.
And Trevor Noah is really underrated. Like, you're right. And
it took me a while to get Trevor Noah, because I was such a Jon Stewart fan.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Yeah. So he was in an impossible situation, but has done as good of a job as anyone could have possibly done following that legacy, you know?
Dude, Jon Stewart, there should be statues of Jon Stewart all across the United States, because of John, Colbert, Carell, Hassan, Trevor, Samantha Bee.
It's true.
Rob Corddry, Ed Helms,
Rob Riggle.
Right? Riggle. Yeah. Start looking at The Daily Show, and you're like, Letterman in the early days, like Letterman to Jon Stewart, none greater.
Couldn't agree more.
None greater.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's to me, politics is music. So I hope we don't, but it really is, like, music and politics are the same, because to me, it's the same reason why I interview the way I do, the same reason why I do the shows the way I do, is this is all about the human condition and using megaphones to amplify a better message for a better all of us. That's what I really, truly believe in.
And you've exemplified that throughout your career. We're going to wrap up on this one last thing. I don't think anything truly positive in the world has happened since David Bowie died.
I think Lemmy passed away and sent a message to Bowie and said, "It's better here." and Bowie left. I firmly believe that. I don't believe in an afterlife, but if I were to, I feel like Lemmy and Bowie are doing lines somewhere having the best time. The best time.
Because you posted a clip of because you interviewed Bowie as well, and I'm sure you're familiar with that clip of him talking about the internet from like 1996 or whatever, and like he saw it, and especially in the context of the Trumpism of politics, and how he said the internet it's going to be used for the most amazing and the most dangerous things. And he was so right. Was he truly like a prophet alien from another planet?
Possibly. I don't know enough to say he wasn't that, but
there's just too many things of his brilliance consistently, decades of it.
Bowie was a genius in every sense of the word, I believe. I'll tell you this about David. What he did so beautifully was he was reflective, and he didn't just challenge the worldview, he challenged his point of view. So we're in an era where people really want their narratives reinforced, right? Bowie was open. So he could look at a thing. You know how everybody's like, oh, this is that. Almost everybody you present them with an idea and they have a thought on it. Here's my opinion.
A hot take.
A fucking hot take on something they only read a headline on. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And most people are like that. I'm like that, and I have to fucking stop myself. The amount of tweets that I've deleted, right? Because I'm like, fucking George, you don't know shit. I don't call myself by my own name, by the way. I'm like, dude, you don't know shit. Stop it, right? About this. Bowie had taste and knew what he liked and didn't like artistically, for sure. Bowie had taste. Let's start with that. Bowie's taste was great.
Yes.
Bowie was a risk taker.
Absolutely.
Which is massively important.
The androgyny thing in the 70s is a brave thing to do.
And it was true to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you think about Tin Machine. Bowie and I laughed about Tin Machine because Bowie was on a search, right? He was on a search. So he was not afraid to try this stuff. And the other part is something like the internet presents itself. Bowie just thought about it before he had a hot take. And this is the key to Bowie, I really believe, was Bowie was this perfect mix of open, thoughtful, and reflective, but through the prism of well-honed taste. So he had built a system. I work very hard to do the same thing. I'm no Bowie by any means, but I work very hard to make sure that if I feel something about a thing, I put it through a mechanism. Why do I feel this way? What does it say about me? Where did I come from? What's the root cause of this? I really unpack it. Then I have my take. Bowie did that. Figure your shit out. Make sure that it's not enough to question the answers, dude. You got to question the questions. I learned that when I was like 15. I was 14. I was working at a Mr. Submarine sandwich shop right by the airport in Toronto. I think I was making $3 an hour. I was 14. I looked like I was a child. I was so little. I would never have got hired if I met the boss. He hired me over the phone. And I remember walking in with a Walkman, listening to headphones. And I don't know, I think I was listening to the Misfits or something. And there was an older guy there who was 17 and 20. He had long hair, kind of a stoner. And I remember he introduced me to The Killing Joke, the band The Killing Joke.
Oh, yeah.
And he said to me, what are you listening to? I'm like, punk rock. He's like, oh, you like punk rock? Like, yeah, I like punk rock. And I thought it was super cool. He said, why do you like punk rock? And I thought I was being badass, right? Talking to the adult. And I said, because you got to question the answers, man. And he looks at me making his sandwich. He goes, nah, fuck that, man. Question the questions. Boom, blew my mind.
A dude in a sub shop. Yeah.
A dude in a sub shop. I was looking.
It can come from anywhere.
Oh, I was looking. I didn't even know that I needed it, but I was open to it. I'm like, there it is. There it is. Here I go,
Yeah.
And so to me, Bowie was always really good at not taking things at face value, But then coming to a point of view, and then if he wasn't sure about a creative pursuit, I'm gonna fucking do it. I think this is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about Let's Dance and, oh, he sold out and made a pop record. No, that was just one of the chapters in the book of Bowie. It's like...
Also, what a song.
Absolutely. I've heard some of the... I won't say who. Yeah. I won't say who, but I would hear... When I worked at The Edge, I would hear... Because that song got played on Q107. They dabbled a little bit, and it really rubbed some of those hosts the wrong way. This is not classic rock,
Bowie was classic rock.
Bowie is classic rock. Like, it's...
So I was just the other day, I was talking to a guy who had produced 4 Bowie records with him, like in the classic albums, those early days. And he said that he thinks 90 to 95% of the vocals on those records were Bowie's first take.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of.
The biggest songs of our time, like the most impactful art songs, he said 90 to 95% were Bowie's first take. He didn't waste time being too insecure about it. That's the take. We got it. Let's go.
That's amazing, because I think that it's so easy for musicians to overcook things and let's try it this way,
The filtered generation.
Yeah,
the
Dave Grohl
generation
talks about, like it's the imperfections are what make it real, and
100%.
All of those things, right?
I agree with you. It's like, now I'm not saying, I wish things were like that. They are what they are, right? Every era has their thing. This isn't just a generational thing. This is an era thing. Every era has their thing. We're the filtered era, right? And I don't know if that will, I know people say things are cyclical. That has been true, but I think social media has rewired that. I don't know that they're cyclical anymore. I think that they might be more of like a weird waveform, right? I think I think so. I think that all bets are off in the social media world.
Because things change, things can swing so quickly because of social media. You're right. Yeah. It has rewired everything. Man, what a fascinating conversation that started from your favorite band as a kid and then coming full circle and wrapping up with Bowie. Strom, thank you so much, man.
Hey, man, what a pleasure. Thank you.